Welcome, everyone, to the Summer 2021 G4G auction preview. As you all know, the conference we had to postpone from last spring, first to this spring, and then to this fall. And there's a number of costs associated with that. In the meantime, we have tried to create new initiatives and new content. We've had the monthly Celebration of Mind speakers and a week-long last fall. And this spring, we've had a Gathering for Gardner calendar. We have integrated the main G4G website with the Celebration of Mind website. All of these things have costs, and this auction helps to offset those costs. And we're very fortunate to have a number of amazing items contributed by members from the Gathering for Gardner community: books, puzzles, math objects, you name it. And the auction itself will take place July 24th to July 31st on eBay for Charity. The link is on the website. And so today we're just going to highlight a few of the items in that auction. And so let's begin with Jim Prop, if you're ready.
So I'm Jim Prop, and I write a monthly math essay. I've been doing this for about 6 years now. And I was inspired, of course, by Martin Gardner's monthly columns. And lately I've been inspired by the people who have generously started websites like Ask a Mathematician, Ask a Physicist, or Alex Kontorovich's talks at the Museum of Mathematics called Ask a Mathematician Anything. So I thought I should write an essay not on a topic that I chose, but on a topic that somebody else chose, something that someone was interested in and basically hired me to write an essay about. So I will write a 3,000 or so word essay on a topic of your choice. Has to be something I feel I can do a decent job of. And I will do it before the end of the year. So that is what I am auctioning off to whoever puts in the highest bid.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jim. That'll be a treat for somebody. Next, I would like to highlight a couple of books. We have autographed from Donald Knuth, autographed copies of Surreal Numbers, which is a fabulous little book. The Art of Computer Programming, Volume 4A, and a couple of other Don Knuth books as well. Those will be a real treat for somebody. I may put in a bit on those myself. Bob Bosch, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm donating to the auction a piece of mathematical art. I'll show you a glimpse of it right here, and I'll show some pictures of it shortly, and I'll talk a little bit about this. What you see behind me is a piece of artwork that I did that is basically what people refer to now as TSP art. It's art created by solving a fairly large scale traveling salesperson problem. So it's a bunch of points that are connected together into a cycle. One point joined to a next point, to the next point, and so on. So just a whole bunch of lines joined together into a cycle. Okay, what I'm donating is what I call a Hamiltonian cycle fidget toy. Here we see a couple of images of this, photos that were taken on a light board. And you'll see that there's a ball that's inside a frame, and the frame is itself a Hamiltonian cycle that's been embedded on the surface of a torus. So I want to say a little bit more about this. If you want to read about my work, you can check out this book that was published by Princeton University Press. But this design that forms this frame of this cage that encloses the ball was inspired by the linear ideas, these designs that were done by Wacław Szpakowski. He was a Polish architectural engineer who lived from 1883 to 1973. Here's a picture of him. This was a self-portrait that he did in 1912, 5 copies of himself. He looks like a fun person. I would have really liked to have had the opportunity to get to know him. He was obsessed with making designs out of straight lines. So when I saw his work a couple of years ago, I had like chills and vibrations running through my body. This was like clearly to me a kindred spirit. So this shows some of his notebooks. This shows pen and ink drawing that he did. You can see that it's made out of a single line that starts on the left in the bottom left corner and makes its way through the page to the bottom right. here's another piece. Here the line starts, the way I like to read it is the top left corner, and then it makes its way throughout the page and exits in the top right. Incidentally, Szpakowski was an amateur violinist, and the story goes that he would use these drawings as scores. He would take out his violin, stare at one of his drawings, and play. And I wish I could have heard that too. So when I saw this work, I thought this would be great work to play with and try and extend and use 3D printing technology to do something with. So the design that you see here was the inspiration for the design that forms this frame that holds the ball. And here's another picture of it. The whole thing is about this big. It's about 4 inches in diameter, and you can spin it around and the ball rolls around. It's, kind of the type of toy that you might give to a little kid, a rattle, but it's probably more expensive than you want to give to a child as a toy. It's just a fun little object, and I hope whoever bids on it enjoys it. So thank you.
Thank you, Bob. We had a question. How did you get the ball inside? I'm pretty sure I know the answer to that, but
it was 3D printed right inside.
Yeah.
So selective laser sintering technology, shape-wise, can print objects inside other objects. It's really, truly marvelous. I'd love to be able to make one out of metal, but the technology doesn't allow for that. But maybe someday, new technology will.
Next, I'd like to highlight really cool object, high quality laser cut acrylic model of a 3-wheel combination lock contributed by Thomas Gray. And I have a video of that. Okay, that looks like something I'd like to have in my toy library. So next up, we have Mark Setter-Ducati, if you're ready.
Hello, yes, I'm ready. I'll share my screen. Back in 1994, I created a line for Milton Bradley called Magic Works, and they were separate individual tricks. This was the original commercial.
Introducing Magic Works.
Some people may remember it from back then.
Master in minutes.
Metal cannot penetrate metal.
Yes, it can. I will defy the laws of science with crystal cleaver. Your ring? An ordinary box? A metal sword. I place the ring into the box. And magically, metal through metal. Wow! Unbelievable!
That's scientifically impossible.
You're right. It's magic.
Crystal Cleaver, one of the many tricks you can collect in the world of Magic Works.
So that was a series, but the best of the tricks were the 3, 1995, we introduced 3 electronic talking magic tricks. They were the first magic tricks that ever talked. And this was the commercial. And these are the tricks that these are 3 tricks that are brand new from 1995 in a box that I'm offering for the auction. And this is the commercial.
Check it out, talk. New electronic talking Magic Works like Spirit in the Coffin.
I'll predict your card before you even choose it. Impossible. What? I made my prediction and sealed it. Pick a card. I picked the eye.
My master knew the eye.
Unreal. Just wait till you see Guardian of the Grave and Secret of the Sphinx. Cool.
Electronic talking Magic Works. Spirit in the Coffin. Guardian of the Grave. Secret of the Sphinx. We know the secrets and we'll talk. Electronic talking Magic Works from Milton Bradley.
So the first trick is the Spirit in the Coffin. I'll show them in a moment. I won't. And the second trick is the card trick called Secret of the Sphinx. And the third trick is the Guardian of the Grave. For most of the people in the Gathering for Gardner, the Guardian of the Grave would be one of the most interesting tricks because Martin Gardner wrote about that principle quite a bit. Sometimes it's called Room for Doubt. And it's probably one of my favorite mathematical principles. And this is an electronic version. And the idea is that the little character, or in the case, it could be a coin, or there's many versions of the trick where it moves around on different spaces, and the character or the magician always knows where it's going to end at the end. And it's a really beautiful principle. Okay, so this is the Guardian of the Grave. It's in a box. It's brand new, and they when you turn it on, the tricks talk. They all talk. This one here, and then this one you'll move it around on the different spaces, and he tells you to take away pieces or the little characters. So it makes it fun. So when each time so you take that away, and it's a process of elimination. Then he tells you to move 5 spaces, and the spectator can move in any direction that they like. So that's the Guardian of the Grave. Then he tells you to take another one away. And then we have, this is a really great mathematical principle, and it's a fun trick. All these tricks are very easy to do. Once you know the secret, there's no skill. It's only a presentation. And the next one is the secret of the Sphinx. And this is a card trick where somebody picks a card, and then they put it back in, and the little character talks and knows what the card is. So it'll keep going until the card comes up, and it'll say, yes, this is the card.
Yes, this is the card.
So they all are they're talking tricks, and of course that's a selected card. And the best trick, this trick doesn't use a mathematical principle, but it uses several different interesting principles combined that Martin also wrote about. And the final trick is the Spirit in the Coffin, which out of all the magic tricks that I've created over the years, it's probably the best trick. It's very deceptive, and it was featured in that commercial. And this is the trick. And there's 4 cards or 4 objects: the eye, the snake, the hand, and the bird. I make a prediction. So for example, I make a secret prediction, and then I cover it, and then somebody says which one they want. So they might say the snake, and then it's always 100%. It'll tell you the correct one.
The snake.
And it's always right. All the tricks are totally self-contained. You have to keep in mind, these were done more than 25 years ago. So the electronics are very simple. There's no remote control, and they're all self-contained, and they're all very easy to perform. And they're a lot of fun to do, because every one of these tricks will completely fool anybody that doesn't know the principle. And that's what I have to offer. So thank you.
Thank you.
I will throw in a copy of Mental Magic, which
Fantastic. You have the book, right?
Yeah, I have the book. So I will throw it in, and it's a very good copy of it. So that will go with Mark's 3 magic items.
Wow,
Right.
those are fabulous, Mark. Thank you. Next, I'd like to highlight, you have 4 books from the personal library of John Conway up for auction. These are Amusements in Mathematics by Henry Ernest Dudney, Mathematical Puzzlements, Play and Invention with Mathematics by Herbert Cole, The Complete Card Player by Albert Ostro, and Creative Puzzles of the World by Peter Van Delft and Jack Bodermans. So a chance to get something that John Conway owned. Next, Ethan, are you ready to speak?
I'm ready, although all of this is kind of a hard act to follow. I'll do a little bit of how I got to where I am. 2 things pushed me into mathematics. One was Martin Gardner, and the other was this book by Hugo Steinhaus, Mathematical Snapshots, which I probably started reading at about the same time. And this particular picture in Steinhaus of a cube sliced to show a hexagon in the middle really grabbed me when I was in high school. So did the Soma cubes, and I made those. But this one, I couldn't figure out a good way to make that till I spent on purpose a semester at the Harvard Design School where I could use their shop. So I took a piece of pressure treated lumber and cut it through the center on the diagonal. And there are the hexagons, not regular because I didn't get the curve. And I was really embarrassed because I was surprised by the ellipses. I mean, they should have been predictable from the circles on the top. But one of the things that is nice is that it surprises people. Then I made some wooden ones of which there are a few, and these are not in the auction. They're, well, I don't think there'll ever be any more of them. And I put that aside for a long time. And then 3D printing came along, and it became possible to just make these things. So I have a set like this that's sliced in a box, and you can make those. The problem with that is that they didn't stick together. So, but then I realized that I could actually get them to stay together. And this is what I'm selling. This is a cube that I made for a grandson of my partner, and he bicycles and he rows. That's a rower. And this is a birthday present for him. It's got his name and his birthday on it. And you can take it apart and it stays together. And this is the corner piece that locks on the end. And I will personalize it. So you tell me what names or images or dates or whatever, and we negotiate back and forth. If it's too complex, the 3D printer doesn't like it so much. But we'll figure out how to personalize that. I have two items in the auction. The other one is also sliced cubes, which are these earrings, which you can, I don't know whether the picture will show it, but you can actually, it's not going to work. You can actually make them show like a cube, and you can get those sliced either into 6 pieces or into 7 pieces, where the slices are not perpendicular to the long diagonal. And it's actually pretty hard to get it to line up right. There are also 3D printed versions of slices of tesseracts, but those are not in the auction. Thank you.
Next, I have another video to show. This is from Japeth Wood. We have dimpled cuboctahedra folded from NYC Metrocards. Well, that looks fun. Nancy, are you ready to speak?
I've been collecting lots of books and they've been sitting on my shelf for years. And I thought somebody might enjoy these books. So when I guess when Martin Gardner was about to turn 100, I thought I'll grab a bunch of books, I'll buy a bunch of books because I think they'll be really hot. So but I've decided to make them available to other people. So I have this Martin Gardner Presents magic book. And I have another Martin Gardner book here, another magic book, the Encyclopedia of Impromptu Magic. And in those books, I will put an autographed book plate, either this one with a tree with Martin Gardner's signature, or you can specify that you want this one with the frogs. Okay, so those are 2 items. And Elwyn, passed away a few years ago. And a few years before that, he started giving away things in his collection. So I am offering the G4G7 exchange book with his name on it. So I'm offering the complete set. And with these, I'm offering the G4G7, G4G8, G4G, not the 9, G4, and the G4G, what is it? This one is the, I don't know which one is this. This one's from 2016, so probably G for G 12. I have the G for G8 one, and so if you want to look at papers from years ago, you can buy this auction item. And then I also have, I recently got inspired, which you'll see later in this preview. I got inspired by this Paper Capers book. I bought it a long time ago when I saw, when I saw Eric Demain be able to fold and cut out many different shapes with a single straight cut. And so I bought an original version, but then it seems to have been reprinted. And so I bought this one too, and I'm going to make both of these available. So you can either bid on this blue new one, which is the third printing from 1981, or the original one. And I think I'll stop there.
Mark Burstein, are you ready to go?
Hi, all. I'm most associated with Lewis Carroll. I've given a couple talks at the gathering, and I will be talking at the upcoming one, a talk called The Literary Englishman and the Scientific American, which was all about how many times Mr. Carroll appeared in Mr. Gardner's columns. I was also the updater, editor, art director of the latest annotated Alice, and did a book a few years before that. Let's see, that would probably be a bouquet for the Gardner. Hope some of you have that. Although I did start out life as a math major, I got sucked into the computer game for about 3 decades of software. But about 19 years ago, corporate America and I sort of parted ways, and I went back to my original love, which is editing books, which I've been doing for the last 19 years. So there's a number of processes to editing, starting with midwifing, perhaps, which is, of course, pulling the book from your brain out onto paper or pixels. There's developmental editing, which is taking a manuscript and working with the author on emphasis, arc, whatever it takes. And there's also crafting book proposals to get the attention of publishers. So I think my auction item is a couple hours of consultation with me at any particular stage of your book, whether it's just in your head, whether it's on paper or pixels, or whether it's just something you'd like help working on an attractive proposal for publishers, whatever it takes. That's my offer.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
That will be very valuable for somebody who was lucky winner of that auction item. Next, I would like to highlight that we have 2 one-year subscriptions to Scientific American in the auction. So this will be nice for somebody. Gwen Fisher, are you ready?
Hi, I'm Gwen Fisher, and I'm here in Sunnyvale, California. And I'm a mathematician and artist. And like pretty much everybody else here, I read Martin Gardner's books as a kid, or his Scientific American articles. But about 2 years ago, I started doodling. I got inspired by a friend who had a bunch of sketchbooks full of artwork. And after looking through his sketchbooks, I went home and started doodling, and I kind of haven't stopped. And what I've been doing with a lot of my doodles is I've been turning them into stickers. And I've gotten a little obsessed with making stickers. I'm going to turn my camera because the camera is better if I flip it over. And I'm going to show you some of the stickers here. So this was the second one that I ever did. And it's just, they're full of just, I don't know, patterns and just all the things I always doodled in my notebooks when I was a kid, which was lots of patterns and networks. And because I was inspired by my friend's work, there's a lot of aliens, and there's a lot of times there's cats in some of these. So these are some of the early ones before I really got into color. This is Cat Planet, which has got the cat, and then my friend's lizard and a snail, and more aliens and microbes and little spaceships going off. And then at some point, the black hole photo, that real famous black hole photo, got taken and posted online. And one of my friends said, you should start doodling black holes. So this was not the first one. It's probably the third or fourth one that I did. And when I posted one with six holes in it, I said, how many holes is too many holes? And somebody said, well, I guess infinitely many. So then I started doing infinite hole pieces. So this was the first one where I figured out how to turn the Poincaré model of hyperbolic space into a black hole drawing. And that's been a big part of a lot of these since. It's been a recurring theme. So here's another one where the holes converge both on the outside ring and then also on the inside ring. And then you have Tribert in here, and he's trying to create life. And so that's a thymine molecule right there, which is part of DNA. So that's him on his way to creating life. So you can see all my little imaginary friends that make recurring appearances. There's the lizard again, and the cat shows up. And then I started painting color wheels. I got really into color theory. I've always been into color theory, but I started painting color wheels and realized whatever three pigments you start with, you get a different kind of color wheel. So the color wheel started appearing as sort of prominent features of the pieces. So this one here, and again, here's another model of Poincaré. And I started doing Pythagorean trees, which you probably recognize. And here's a variant on the tree that uses, instead of triangles and squares, this one uses pentagons and triangles and trapezoids. And then you have like the little microbes down here, and again, more patterned planets, and the little space explorer. And this one, more rainbows. Just painting rainbows makes me happy, so I paint a lot of rainbows. And what's better than a rainbow is, I guess, a double rainbow that's interwoven with itself. And then here's a couple bigger stickers. Again, another tree, different from the other two. It's got pentagons and trapezoids. And at some point here, I got some watercolor paints and started coloring things in with paint. So it's been a fun exploration trying to learn how paint works. Again, more color wheels, more infinite holes. The color wheel and the cat. There's a couple pair of lizards here. That's my dog, Kepler. And then here's one of, so some of the color wheels I do are they're just fancy color wheels. That's all they are. So here's one of those. This was done with 5 different pigments, which you can see here in these circles. And then I have all the transitions of how they're painted together. So this red and this blue, if you actually transition here, these are the colors that are mixed between those two. And likewise here, this red and this yellow, those are mixed here. And to get the outer colors, I mixed from here over to here, but then used the complement on the other side to make the colors gray. And then this is the newest one. Again, more infinite holes. This one's a little different from the others because it has this extra ring going around here of holes. And I call that one Question Cat. He's not going to answer any of your questions, but he'll listen to you. And this one has a lot of different kinds of spacecraft. So you got the spaceship and the helicopter and the blimp, and then there's a glider, and there's just a helium balloon, and over here is a kite. That's what I got. So there's 15 of them in all. They're all vinyl. It's the entire collection of all the stickers I made minus one, because that one I don't have any left. That's what I've got. Thank you.
Wow, the complete collection of stickers. That is really something, because those are really fun stickers, and I've been happy to receive them as gifts now and then.
Yeah, and they're
So,
waterproof, so they're washable. And if you decide 2-3 years from now you want to peel them off something, they'll peel off in one piece. They're real good quality.
great. Thank you, Gwen. So next I'd like to highlight a gift from, or a contribution from Juan Tamariz, Mnemonica, which is a virtual encyclopedia on the subject of memorized deck magic. And I have a video of that I will share.
It's the Bible on stack work. So if you're serious about stack, you gotta have the Bible.
Hello guys, I'm Denis Ortiz. I am very happy with this new edition of Mnemonica by Juan Tamariz. Changed the magic and life of many magicians because this is an unbelievable work. This is very clever and it's a very great work about the stack deck, and no any stack deck, the Tamariz stack deck.
Mnemonica tells all about Juan Tamariz's stack and all the various things he's developed for it. And what makes it a really great book is that even if you're not interested in doing stack work, there are little gems, little nuggets, little tidbits of information that you can apply to almost any card routine you're doing, and will make it a better trick. One of the godfathers of memorized deck magic. It's a book that you have to study, so go out and do that. Don't watch me anymore. Just shut this off and go someplace and buy a copy of that book and study.
You have to read it again and again and again, and always you're going to find more treasures. It's such a dense book.
This is a new opportunity for change your magic. Welcome to Tamariz World.
Let's go on to Ellie. Are you ready?
Yes, thank you, Bob. So this infinity scarf is a reversible model of a 7-color torus made with fabric designed by Frank Farris and sewn by me, Ellie Baker. And in addition to being a soft, cozy garment, it can be used to demonstrate that at least 7 colors are needed to paint maps on a toroidal surface. Frank designed the fabric with an infinitely repeating pattern of interconnected knots in 7 colors. If cut and sewn in precisely the right way, the fabric forms a toroidal surface in which each of exactly 7 knots is linked with all the other 6. In addition to its reversibility, the scarf also features a Mobius drape and the ability to fold flat into an equilateral triangle for neat storage. Frank printed the pattern on 2 pieces of lightweight chiffon fabric, one with a cream background and one with a black background, or it might be kind of a navy black, so that it could be sewn this way into the reversible scarf described in my Bridges paper, Invertible Infinity, a Toroidal Fashion Statement, co-authored with Charles Wampler. Here's a quick video of me demonstrating the inversion. You can see the triangle form there, and it has a small slit on one seam through which it can quickly be reversed to expose its other surface. So that's what Frank and I are auctioning. Thank you.
Thank you. That is an amazing piece of work. So thanks for that contribution. Next up, I have a video of a contribution by George Hart, which is the original model for the Snowball sculpture that he did, which is a large art installation.
The wood orb is about 14.5 inches in diameter. Including the protruding brass rods, it's about 18.5 inches overall. I assembled this from 30 laser-cut pieces of Baltic birch, which I stained orange on the outside and yellow on the inside. There are also 6 brass rods, positioned at right angles, like XYZ axes. The wooden parts have icosahedral symmetry with 5-fold swirling areas, while the rods illustrate a subgroup of that symmetry. This item is a 1/3 scale model of a larger sculpture that I had made in 2017. The larger version was a commission for Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, to celebrate a Nobel Prize-winning discovery about neutrinos. I led a group of people to assemble the sculpture at a public outreach event. Before cutting the wood for the Queen's University version, I made the scale model as a maquette to help me finalize the design. It's very lightweight and will look great hanging up anywhere. It's a one-of-a-kind original. I hope you like it.
Thank you to George for that. Next up, I have Chaim Goodman Strauss, if you're ready.
I am. Well, thank you all. I'm so delighted to participate in this. It's just so many marvelous things that people are offering here. I'm a mathematician and sculptor. I live in Fayetteville, Arkansas, not so far, I guess, in that direction from Tulsa, Oklahoma, where Martin Gardner was born and raised. And like everyone here, of course, I was really deeply influenced by Martin Gardner. And it was a thrill to start going to the gathering and meeting many of you and just, participating in his legacy. So since 2008, my collaborator, Eugene Sargent, and I have contributed to the sculpture builds at the gathering. And each one of the sculptures that we've worked on has explored a different mathematical theme. Really, my sculptures are more mathematical illustrations than anything else. So one of the things that we did recently, I'll throw this in, as this is not the main thing, but this is the model for it, was to just discuss surfaces of constant negative curvature, or rather controlled negative curvature, where the surface is bending away in two different directions at every point. Every single point on the surface is a saddle. These are familiar to us from the natural world, for example, lettuces and various kinds of things. But anyway, this is the piece. So it's quite large. I'm not really quite sure how that's going to work. Here it is on its stand, which Eugene made. You can see this, I believe, right? And here, so this is made out of foam. And the main point here really is, although these surfaces have been studied for 200 years, there's actually some really deep open questions, in particular, how they actually fit into regular space. Is remarkable. I'd just like to advertise that as a mathematical problem that is really overlooked, largely because people don't have access to physical models, perhaps. So we made this back in 2016. There's Rob Fattower. Here's Dinah Tamina, who, of course, many of you know, got a lot of this making models of hyperbolic stuff off the ground with her crochet. So it was really fabulous to have her there, and also she appreciated that this was much faster than the crochet. It's a different product, it's a different thing, but it can be done in sort of very quickly as well. And so in any case, that's the offering. I'm not really sure how that'll work. This piece is in Atlanta, so obviously someone living close to that will have an easier time getting a hold of it, but that can be straightened out. And then I guess just to sort of throw in something a little easier to transport, I'll just give this model in as well. That was what led to it. So thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, Chaim. I remember that was a really fun object to help assemble the last gathering. I have one more video to present. Nancy spoke earlier about these paper capers, and I have a video about that. So let me cue that up.
According to legend, George Washington asked Betsy Ross to make 6-pointed stars for the American flag, because he thought that 5-pointed stars were too hard to cut. But Betsy Ross put 5-pointed stars on the flag, and probably she knew about the fold and cut trick, where she would only have to make a single cut out a 5-pointed star. And that's what we're going to show you today. And we're going to show you something more. We're going to show you how you can cut out 5 5-pointed stars, and you can cut out all 13 stars on the US Betsy Ross flag with one straight cut and a lot of folds.
So I'd like to add that the auction item, you get a booklet, the Paper Capers booklet, and tissue paper, and a protractor. So you can also cut out and there's going to be 2 copies of this, the new one and the original one.
Very cool. Thank you, Nancy. Next up, Jordan Gold, are you ready?
So usually at G4G, we think about puzzles as like mechanical puzzles or, you know, Martin Gardner puzzles. And we typically don't think about jigsaw puzzles. There's not a lot of these going on. These are usually traditionally very simple, just a picture cut up into 1,000 pieces and you put it back together. But I've been working with my esteemed colleague and creative partner, Simon Cornell, who's also an amazing magician. You may have seen him on Penn and Teller's Fool Us a few times. And we have been putting together a magic jigsaw puzzle, which is a jigsaw puzzle that does a magic trick at the end, which is sort of hard to explain exactly what that is. It's sort of, you can think of it as a spring-loaded magic trick in this box. But Simon has a little bit more in-depth explanation of sort of what is going on in here and also why it's G4G related. And I think that I'll let Simon take it away from here.
So hi, I'm Simon. I'm going to give you a ultra condensed into a couple of minutes version of a normally much longer presentation that tells you about 1% of the beginning of the story of these puzzles. Okay, so this is a very old magic trick by a guy called Harry Anderson called Where's Tom? You have some pieces of a $2 bill. The goal is find Tom. You put them together, he's not there, flip them over, put them back together. Oh wait, miraculously a piece is missing. This will not be news to anyone in G4G, familiar with this idea of a geometric vanish. But then Tom turns out to be on the back of the title piece, delightfully. A little fun twist as to where he ended up. And this itched my brain, and I got thinking about what if you could make a custom version of this that tells a different story or play with the shapes and sizes. So basically I started digging into how the actual geometry behind this works. Basic concept, get a rectangle, chop it up, rotate it, spin the pieces, put them back together, you get a hole. Fantastic, great, love it. Let's get some more specifics. I will breeze through this for the sake of time. Basic math, once you have the sides, you choose an angle arbitrarily. From that, basic trigonometry gives you the side widths, the offsets, the heights, the diagonal lengths. You can figure out the other stuff, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then you have all the details. Great, fantastic. However, for the sake of graphic design, you often want to go in the other way. You often want to go, you want to start with how big you want the hole to be and go backwards to how big the thing needs to be for, say, a 4x6 postcard with the hole missing. So then we have to go backwards and start with the end state, do mildly more complicated trigonometry to go through it, you know, nothing to the standards of many people here, and then you have the equations, great. But then you have a problem, because using this method, this will only ever give you a hole of the same aspect ratio as the total card, which again is quite limiting from a design perspective. What if I want like a square hole in a rectangular piece? You can't use those existing equations we've derived to work that out. So meanwhile, I was then on a cruise ship magic gig and just started messing around trying to crack this nut. And it was actually really tricky and fiddly, and the math didn't come together nearly as nicely, and equations stopped making sense, and it started to hurt my head and was very annoying. And so I realized the reason was that for any given non-equal aspect ratio solution, there are 2 solutions. One where the cuts intersect on the middle sides and one where they intersect on the top and the bottom. And that's why it was like a quadratic equation solution, where you can have 2 solutions to the thing that was ruining my math. Once I had that figured out though, we went through, figured out the equations, eventually wrote myself some Python code to generate SVG files of the actual cut patterns so I could start experimenting, which led to much more rapid prototyping. We started messing with cool ideas. And then, like I said, that's the first 1% of the much longer, more weird, complex story that led to including these techniques in a delightful, magical jigsaw puzzle, which actually does now exist in the world, and Jordan is offering up as available.
So all of that, we managed to squeeze that into a jigsaw puzzle, while also sort of adding a whole bunch of new other little details and surprises and magical things inside of here. So when you open it, there's a lot more than just pieces, and they're super fun, very inspired by a lot of things that Martin Gardner wrote about. And we put, I mean, it took about 2 years to make the first ones of these, and I think they're really fun. So those are the magic jigsaws.
Thank you, Jordan and Simon. Very, very fun contribution. Very much appreciated. And our final speaker today is Barney Sperlin. If you're ready, Barney.
All right, well, I want to talk a little bit about juggling and math, because obviously that's somewhat related. We got a book over here that you may be familiar with called Magical Mathematics. And the book is written by Percy Diaconis and also Ron Graham. Well, the point about that is that it has mathematical explanations of both magic and juggling. Ron Graham was a juggler. You may know of him because of his famous Graham's number that everybody's heard of, is that giant number. And he was also the International Jugglers Association president a number of years ago. And so he was very involved in that. And the foreword to this book is by Martin Gardner. So we're talking about something that Gardner was involved with also here. So I would recommend this book if you get a chance to go through it. It's got much more than most people can handle here for both math and juggling. Anyway, the book also teaches juggling at the back there. Well, there's been a number of people who have been related to this. Claude Shannon is one of them. He's a famous juggler. He also does a bunch of unicycle tricks. He is famous for having invented a juggling robot back in the 1940s or 50s. And he also wrote down a juggling equation, which I was able to fit in to my notes over here in the margin. So I'm a little bit better than Fermat was. I'm very proud of that. In any event, the equation has to do with the number of times that you have the balls to juggle, the number of hands you have, the amount of time that the ball is in the air, the amount of time the ball is in your hand, and things like that. So that's a basic juggling equation made by Claude Shannon. He also did a little bit of other stuff, something called information theory, which was also the basis for computers and the internet and things like that. But the juggling was the important stuff. Some more math was site swap mathematics, which has been developed over the last 15 years or so. And that's the math of juggling. And that's been clever enough to predict some patterns that no one's ever found before. Some ways to make the balls move around and your hands move around that hadn't been thought of. So that just came out of the math. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Jim McCormick, who has been working on the different states in juggling where things are in particular places. And he's working on the group theory of that. And he's created a dodecahedron where the vertices will connect from one to another, and that allows you to go through in a Hamiltonian or other ways to create the sequences in the juggling patterns. So you can do a huge number of things in math with the juggling, but as I say, I enjoy it because it does relax me. I like that. So give you another little quick look at this over here. The start out with this is the 3-ball pattern. It's called a 3-ball cascade. And this is the standard thing, and this is what I would teach you. And I would teach you in person if you were in the Washington, D.C. area. And I guess we could do it virtually if you're a little bit farther away. But the point is we could then, if you know how to do the 3-ball cascade, then we could do something a little more complicated and move on to some higher stuff like that if you wanted to do some more complicated patterns. So I'm offering the lessons for that, an hour to teach you the 3-ball cascade or things that are beyond the 3-ball cascade there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pleased that you mentioned this book because it's part of the auction. So one can get that book and this book as one auction item.
Very good, very good. Can't be better than that.
Thank you, Barney. This is a long connection between juggling and mathematicians, and so thank you for offering to share that knowledge. And with that, that concludes our preview of this edition of the G4G auction. So again, it's going to be July 24th to the 31st. It will go live on the 24th on eBay for charity, and the link is on the G4G website. Colm reminds me that our August Zoom presenter, our Celebration of Mind speaker is Cindy Lawrence. And this month we have Amina Buhler coming up this Wednesday. And that's going to be a very entertaining talk I look forward to. So I hope to see you all in October. Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye.